Hello, everybody. It's me again. This time I had a thought in my head that's been going on for quite some time. I've talked about it with other people, but I feel like I want to do this myself just to get all my rambles out there. And this topic is about, do creators get a free pass? Now, what I mean by that is like, do creators of franchises that they create, it's not like, they create their own franchise out of something that somebody else did. Like a Lucas, a Nomura, whoever created Pokemon, I guess. The Dragon Ball Z people. I wish Steve were here for that. Do they get a free pass on their work just because they are the creator? Because that's always the defense I hear from people, and it's exactly defense that I heard that started this whole thing in my head. Is that because you're the creator, you can do pretty much whatever you want, and it's okay because you created it. My answer to that is honestly no. I don't think you can. Um, because I feel, and strangely enough, if anybody looking at the picture thinks this is going to be a prequel bashing thing, it's not. Honestly, the prequel I don't think it'll come up at all. Hardly ever. It's more of a, when a creator creates something, I feel that they create also rules and boundaries they have to stay in. Not necessarily in it has to be the same thing over and over again. Star Wars is an example of something that it can be anything. I agree with my friend Red Leader Antilles, hello, shout out, that it can be anything, but even then, I to say there are boundaries is a tough thing because it's like, oh, Star Wars can only be the original trilogy and A New Hope. I'm not saying that. No, no, no. I'm not shaking the J.J. Abrams approach here. Ooh, burn. But it's still like, I feel like you can't take one thing and then completely 180 the tone. It's not like Star Wars can be about, space explorers who seek peace. No, Star Wars can't be Star Trek. Same way Star Trek can't be Star Wars. That it's weird, I know, but it's sort of like even Gene Roddenberry. Even though I'm not a Star Trek fan, I feel like he shouldn't have done everything he did just because he was the creator. And plus, you're trying to tell stories, so you still have to tell a good story, which is kind of the problem here. Is that let's take Star Trek Next Generation because that's when Gene had the most control. He did anything he wanted, but what he did wasn't a good thing because first of all, he just didn't. The stories during season one of early TNG weren't that good. And also, you deal with stuff of like, there's no money in the Star Trek universe. Nobody has flaws. That makes the characters less interesting, that sort of thing. Thankfully, they got away from that after DS9, although that's because Gene passed, sadly. Also, Kingdom Hearts is a good example of, I feel like, that evolved in a way. I don't want to say it's completely unnatural, but it definitely went away from its original core. And there's one thing to evolve. It's a thing to evolve, don't get me wrong. But I feel like I do it in a way that eases people in and also makes sense in the larger context. I think, again, back to Kingdom Hearts, you start out with kids fighting Disney villains, then you fight another non-Disney villain, and Disney is the central focus, with these OC characters in the middle. Then when you get to Chain of Memories and Kingdom Hearts 2, you jump to anime-looking OC characters fighting anime-looking villains, with Disney things in the background. That's a complete 180 jump that doesn't necessarily feel natural. Now, the prequels feel natural because, A, they're like 15 to 20 years before the original trilogy, and also because, you see the transitions from prequels, shiny world, Republic, to crappy galaxy run by the Empire. That makes sense. How it was executed, a bit wonky, but the concepts make sense. But, to bring it to Lucas again, Lucas can still spit on his creation, or at least things that are in the world of his creation. I'm not sure who's responsible for the Quinlan Voss incident of the TCW, because I don't know the full story, but if that was a Lucas decision, Lucas had no right to do that. Because Quinlan Voss was already a pre-established character in the comics, before the reboot, obviously, and he changed him into a surfer dude. Well, originally he was not a surfer dude, he was like this Jedi who, like, dealt with the light and dark side, tried to infiltrate it, and it's a complex story, which I am sadly not as familiar with. If you're curious, go subscribe to Red Lear Antilles' channel. He can probably talk more about that in detail. But Lucas can't just do anything he wants because it's Star Wars and he made Star Wars, especially if he's going to use expanded universe stuff, because it was already created, and he approved it for one thing. Like, he can't turn Thrawn into, like, this, I don't know, he can't turn Thrawn into a hippie dude either. He can bring back Darth Maul, for sure. That, I think, well, there's a big debate on whether or not that was handled well. But he can do that. That makes sense because he didn't change the character. Clone Wars actually gave him more of a character, and the books as well. They kind of all feed into that. But it's like, if George rewrote, well, he was going to kind of pave over stuff by the time TCW was coming along, and there's this whole idea that maybe George was responsible for almost approving the Emperor falling to the dark side because of a woman. I don't think he would have. But that's still, like, I feel like a creator can't spit in the eye of their creation. I don't think Lucas or Nomura have done that yet, but they're like, well, Nomura, nah, he hasn't done it. Like, and Lucas hasn't either. But they are not infallible, and they cannot completely just do whatever. Granted, fans can probably spit in the eyes of those creations, but those are fans. I know this is a very unorganized thought. It definitely plays a lot into the whole concept of death of the author, which is the notion of whatever the author says doesn't matter anymore. It's what people interpret from that matters more. Like, even if somebody says, "Oh, I didn't mean for that to mean that," it doesn't matter because the people think that means that. And what the author said no longer applies. And I kind of believe in death of the author in terms of a creator making something and not having unintended consequences, because people interpret everything differently, obviously. Like, you can see Star Wars a different way, somebody else sees Star Wars. You can see Man of Steel a different way, people see Man of Steel. And of course, yes, you can objectively critique it and say, this doesn't work because these objectively A, B, and C don't function properly. But in terms of, like, scenes and ideas, people can take stuff out of movies that maybe we don't, but they do. So, I guess at the end of the day, my whole point is, I don't think a creator is infallible. I think a creator can spit in their creation, and I think a creator can go against things that their creation was meant. I feel like things like Star Wars, especially Star Wars, transcend Lucas. And that's not, again, I'm not bashing the prequel at all. I'm more just in terms of expanded universe fan, that the expanded universe, the prequel, the TV show, and even the new movie like Rogue One and Episode 8, hopefully, are transcending Lucas. They are Star Wars is the thing that kind of is now so above even Lucas to an extent that I don't even think he can't completely control it anymore. Or, I mean, he doesn't anymore. He retired. But the people, they can make it whatever they want, but they still have to, there are, I don't want to say boundaries, but there are certain, not even tropes. I just think there's sort of like a respect, sort of like an invisible boundary, maybe? I wish I had somebody to talk to about this, because I feel like this is a discussion where we can go back and forth and debate. Even Kingdom Hearts, I think, Nomura is sort of sliding into this whole idea of he's going a little too far with the that it's sort of, it's okay for it to become its own thing, but I think it needs to do that in a more natural way. And I think it's going even too far to the extent. Like, here's an example. The Mortis arc, I think, because it kind of, well, I haven't seen the Mortis arc in a while, but the Mortis arc, I know, at least in terms of, like, things like the future not being set in stone kind of a thing, that kind of spits in the eyes of Star Wars. And whether or not that was a Lucas' decision or not, Lucas was the producer of Clone Wars, so it's sort of like Clone Wars itself, in a weird way. While I love Clone Wars, and I know my friends love Clone Wars, it's kind of a spit in the face of some of the ideas from the Dark Horse comics, which were from the old 2000s, early 2000s, or mid 2000s at least. Even though even the Clone Wars was a directly Lucas involved thing, he's still spinning those. And that's sort of my thing of a creator isn't infallible. Well, a creator of a franchise isn't infallible. I better be careful with those words, but a creator of a franchise can't just get away with everything. Just because it's his creation, I don't think he has the right to do whatever he wants. Especially if he's just making bad stuff. Like, if this were like, if you're just making bad stuff, then you clearly lost the right to do your own stuff a long time ago. So yeah, that's kind of my whole take on it. I don't think a creator has the right to do whatever he wants just because it's his creation. I think besides owing it to his fans, clearly, he also owes, his creation, what it stands for, what it means to not necessarily stay within the boundary and not evolve, but just more pay his respects. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Sorry, this is a long ramble. This has been in my head for a long time, and I want to get this out there. And I need somebody to debate this, or maybe not debate this, but at least go further into discussion, because I feel like this is an important discussion to have. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.